Alright guys, with what is happening in the Senate today, meaning that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and the Biafra agitators, they are not just talking, they are not lying. You understand? The treatment, the huge treatment is just there. Now Igbo leaders are now complaining about the way they are being treated, even in the Nigerian Senate. You understand? Why can't you people just, say this? If you don't want us to be free in this country, let's go our own region. Let's go to our own country. Is that not what IPOB members agitating for? But because maybe they feel that they are comfortable in their little space, they don't just want to let go. You will be surprised to hear what Senator Enyinaya Abaribe is saying concerning the e-treatment being meted on Igbo senators in the Senate. Let's hear what this our brother is saying, and we will watch the video in full. Thank you for stopping by. And please don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to share this video. Igbos all over the world must understand what is happening today in the Nigerian political landscape. Thank you.
The election result that IBB published in his book that Abiola won the election was given to him and to the court by Humphrey Mosu, who was the NEC chairman then, who, oversee the election of Abiola. And despite we were in the military regime then, the man was able to withstand all powers that be, okay? And he conducted one of the most finest elections. You are aware of the controversial thing that happened in the Senate yesterday, where Naya Baribe stood up to raise a motion to honor Humphrey Mosu, and the senators stepped it down. They said it's controversial. What is controversial about that? And I have been watching the Senate plenary right from time. Motions like that, they used to adopt it and talk about it, but this one, they just shun Naya Baribe, and he walked out of the Senate, okay? Now, Mr. Vito Umeh from Anambra, a senator as well of the Labour Party, was, also furious, and he was agitating yesterday on the Senate floor. And after the thing, there was a news that they did this against Humphrey Mosu and the Southeast senators. Why? Because Humphrey Mosu is just an Igbo man. And the target is, how can they name this man after the INEC building? Because they want someone that they are going to name after the INEC building in Abuja. So the building should be named after Humphrey Mosu for his legacies, but they refused, okay? So this video has nothing like tribal sentiment, but it's just about talking about the reality of things that is going on. So this senator representing, that is Anambra, not Vito Umeh, he went to Channels Television yesterday to discuss everything that happened. So it is for your own interest and for the record, for you to understand what really happened yesterday. Take a listen.
Thank you so much indeed. You were also of the opinion, and you joined voices with the mover of the motion, Senator Enyinaya Abaribe, that Professor Humphrey Mosu should be immortalized. Is there any cogent or solid reason why you think that should happen?
Yes, of course. Truth must be told. And anybody who has been around right from the time of that election will only be uncharitable and unfair to him to say that he truncated the June 12th presidential election. If for anything, he should be remembered as the man who, being a civilian in the military dictatorship, defied pressures from the military government, the military leaders, to stop declaring the result of that election. He was harassed, harangued, and invited, summoned before the Defense and Security Council, and he stood his ground that that election, there was nothing wrong with it, and he should be allowed to go and conclude the process and announce the result of the election, because at the time they stopped him from declaring the result. It was only Taraba state result that was being awaited. And when the result came in, it was obvious that one man won the election, Moshood Kashimalo Abiola, MK Abiola. And he told them, they asked him, what do you want to do? He asked them to give him time to consult with the national commissioners, 2 minutes. They allowed him to call his commissioners. They went out by the side and held a decision to go and tell the military government leaders that the election had been concluded. They should allow him to go and announce the result of the election. That was his stand. And when he left the meeting, of course, he was under all manners of harassment, and he chose to challenge the annulment of the election at the court. It was the Director of Legal Services of National Electoral Commission that went to court. From there, he proceeded to Kaduna Court of Appeal Division to challenge the annulment, despite serving a military government.
So you think Humphrey was a hero of June 12th?
He's the actual hero of June 12th.
As much as MK Abiola was, or there are other heroes
both of them. Let me tell you, because he stood by Abiola till the end.
Have you read?
He never wavered.
Have you read his book, Laying the Foundation for Nigeria's Democracy? My account of the June 12, 1993 presidential election and its annulment. He gave me several copies of those books. I read those books, and he told me what he encountered, how he went in the day, during the night, to meet IBB before and after the election, how he feared he was going to be killed, how he feared for his life. All of these are packaged in his own account in this book.
Of course, there's no saying the fact that the man put his life on the line. If you knew the people he confronted, you will know that he was a great hero of that episode. General Abacha, Babangida, and other members of the military Supreme Council, he defied them. And for the fact that he went to challenge it in court and tendered the results of the election in court, so that was the first time the result of the election came out in the open. And he did it to ensure that the result of the election have been brought out. In his own reason, he said once a result is tendered in court, it has become a public document. And at that time, nobody was saying again whether Abiola won or not. And when the matter went to Court of Appeal in Kaduna Division, the chairman of the panel, Honorable Justice Okei Chike of blessed memory, was determined to order that they should go and announce the result. And he summoned all the parties to put in their papers. They brought in their papers, and he adjourned to 25th of June to deliver his ruling. On the 23rd of June, the government of the day dissolved National Electoral Commission and sacked Humphrey Mosu. How can somebody, in his good senses, say that he was planning to truncate that election? And in all the affidavits, he claimed that Abiola won the election. In his book, he tabulated the result. Abiola won the election. Anybody who cared to listen to him, he said the man won the election.
Why was it that your colleagues were not convinced about the bravery and the gallantry of Humphrey Nwosu in the conduct of the 1993 election?
That was the disappointment I saw this morning, and I felt very sad about it. Because a man laid his life, took that risk against people like Abacha. And instead of hailing him, because in doing so, he also told them that Abiola won the election, that he also won in Kano against Bashir Tofa. So what would you expect him to do when he was dealing with people carrying guns? And he stuck to his guns and said, no, this election is concluded, but Abiola won. I think they were being unfair to him.
There are other issues raised against Humphrey Nwosu.
What were the issues?
And there are those who believe that maybe he had some agreement with the military junta at the time, which helped in truncating the process. But if you look at, those are the beliefs that some people had, that Humphrey Nwosu also participated in helping how the election or that process was truncated. But in Humphrey Nwosu, he defended, he was trying to explain a lot of things that people did not know from his own lens. But there are those who believe, who have their own account. And in history, there are different accounts of an event. There are those who believe, and perhaps the reason why some of your colleagues are saying, Humphrey Nwosu is not a hero. In fact, is one of those we should be condemning for how the 1993 election never stood.
I was waiting for you to say what he did that would suggest that. Remember that on the 11th of June, 1993, that he was summoned and asked not to proceed with the election. He told her that the enabling law ousted any court from stopping an election that has been scheduled. And therefore, he went ahead to conduct the election. If he was ready to play like most people would do in the face of military leaders, He would have accepted that the election should no longer go on and pack his things and go away. Nobody will be blaming him. He crossed that hurdle, went and conducted the election. Remember, that was not the first election he conducted. He has conducted House of Assembly elections, governorship elections, National Assembly elections through option F4. And there were no litigations against the election. So this is the last bus stop, presidential election. You know. So when they wanted to stop him, he refused.
Have you read IBB's book?
Yes, of course.
Did you read parts where you mentioned about the election?
Yes, of course.
And the role
That was my grouse this morning.
What part of that book?
How can somebody be saying that he truncated the election when IBB, the military president at the time, has admitted in his book that he annulled the election and that Abiola won the election actually as put across by Humphrey Nwosu? He said it in his book and said he accepts responsibility. But given another opportunity, he wouldn't have done so. That it was Abiola who won the election. And the result he published in his book were the results made available by Professor Humphrey Nwosu. So I think it's a question of people not being fair to a man who has done so well. And instead of giving him accolades, you want to be uncharitable to him, even unto death. This motion came up today at the most timely moment because he'll be buried on Friday, 2 days away. So there's no way we cannot talk about his contributions in the parliament. Those who have opposing views will say that the man should not be immortalized. Those who say that he should be immortalized should say their views. Shutting down the motion the way it was done this morning is very, very undemocratic. It's very undemocratic because there's no reason why you should not say that the prayers must be in the affirmative. There's no way to know. You would have allowed the motion to be debated because we debate such motions every other day in the Senate. No matter how you feel about a motion, you allow it to be read. Whether it is this one is not even controversial. It's just calling for the honor to be done to a man who almost lost his life over a matter. And his bravery has been subdued over the years. It's very unfair. And
if you look at the account of Professor Humphrey Nwosu, how the elections was perhaps not going to happen, about 35 days to the election, and how he had to brief the military junta at the time of how ready NEC was then. 18 hours before the election, there were stories and news about why the election should not go ahead. And he also told me personally of his effort in trying to reach the military president at the time. He also spoke about the result in Rivers, the result in Kano, and some of the complexities that trailed the election. A lot of issues which Professor Humphrey Nwosu, before his death, has also come out to say there are those who distorted the facts and the history. But the fact and history, as far as Humphrey Nwosu was concerned, is from his own lens. There are those who felt aggrieved and who still feel aggrieved that Humphrey Nwosu is less than a hero of that process. What do you think, or how do you think we go from here? You are from that extraction of the country where Professor Humphrey Nwosu is an Enugu man. You spend a lot of time in Enugu too.
Yes.
And how do you feel, or what do you think can be done since this did not pass through in the Senate today?
Well, after Senator Baribe walked out, I didn't take it kindly. I had to work very hard around the chamber to insist that that motion should be recalled. And at the end, there was an agreement that the motion should be recalled tomorrow. I don't know what will happen to it tomorrow, you know. But the truth is that we cannot shut down such a harmless motion that way. If the motion is moved and you feel that the man does not deserve to be so honored, you stand up and say
what does immortalizing him mean?
Immortalizing him, one of the prayers is to name public institutions after him because he was a hero of that episode.
Yeah, there are those who are suggesting that INEC headquarters should be named Humphrey Nwosu House.
Yes. Even when they went to the INEC yesterday, the INEC expressed the same sentiment that he contributed so much in deepening democracy, wanting democracy to survive. Under a civilian dispensation, Humphrey Nwosu would have not faced the kind of challenges he faced in a military dictatorship. That's why people should give him credit. that for the fact that he dragged the issue, also went to court, and the military was forced to dissolve his commission.
Well, why
2 days to the judgment.
Yeah, why
the
does it
of the
look
Court of
like
Appeal.
it's senators from the Southeast that are pushing this?
You know, it's not only Southeast. Didn't you hear?
The mover of the motion.
The mover of the motion said co-sponsors Senator Bamoro, the minority leader of the Senate, Senator Adamu Aliero, KB State, you know. So it's all about who is actually sponsoring the motion. It's about accepting the motion and allowing it to be debated. If you feel strongly against it.
Does Umeh also look like a hero of the Southeast? Does it look like, a proud, someone from the Southeast that the Igbo people is proud of? Is that how he stands?
We are very proud of him for the way he managed that election. Remember, we have been seeing elections after 1993. That 1993 election was so flawless that it produced very widely accepted results across Nigeria. If not for his integrity and the strong set of... Remember, he's a professor of political science.
Yeah.
If he had not acted in that manner, the June 12th and the after effect of June 12th wouldn't have been possible. Even if he had yielded to the military intimidation, not to continue with the struggle, everybody would have forgotten about June 12th. But because he stood his ground, that there was nothing wrong with the election he conducted, that Moshood Abiola won the election, he gave impetus to the pro-democracy groups that went to the streets, fighting for the restoration of that election.
Was the system that was employed.
Yeah, he ingeniously contrived it. Modified.
There are those who were saying we should bring back option A4. As a politician, do you think that will work?
Well, for the fact that that one produced the freest and fairest election ever conducted in Nigeria, there's no reason why we cannot experiment with that again. But you know, things have become so sophisticated now that maybe at that time we had the good environment to try option A4. Now that politicians have become more desperate,
and there's vote buying,
queuing on the line today may be very unfashionable.
Okay,
it is important that people should vote, and their voting protected. You don't need to know where somebody casts his vote.
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, it's actually very emotional as a journalist, for someone you have related with keenly. Professor Umeh was, remember, welcoming to his home in Enugu State warmly. We had almost an hour and a half conversation before we started the interview, and we had almost 2 hours conversation. I almost missed my flight. After the interview. He was a jolly good fellow. He called me afterwards. He gave me copies of his book, which I shared to other colleagues, because he felt there is an alteration of Nigeria's history as far as the June 12th was concerned. I had shared with colleagues who are political editors at the time.
That is what I don't want to happen. The man's place in history should be given to him. There's no reason, if it's because he's from the Southeast, that this thing is being done. He's not a tribalistic person. The way he conducted his affairs as NEC chairman was above board. He wasn't given to manipulation by anybody. Even the military could not manipulate him. Such a stoic character should be immortalized, so that people will know that there was a man who defied the military in discharging his duties.
Let me quickly take you up on emotion or